am I supposed to be?
Believe the lie, so everything that I know says I gotta go, tired of going solo. But I'm never gonna go there again. This is what it is, this is who I am, this is where I finally take my stand. I didn't want to fall, but I don't have to go. I'm not the one with two star hands, giving him the best of everything that's left of. The life inside this man, I've been born again.
Yes. Good morning, David. Good morning, world. I accidentally hit that button in that song. However, it just reminds me what a great song that is.
It is.
Michael Tate and the Newsboys. And even though his name is now mud in some circles, I pray for my brother, Michael. I say, as Jesus said to the crowd with the woman caught in adultery, ready to be stoned, he who is without sin, let them cast the first stone. If he has repented and tried to better and change his life, then I say, brother, I forgive you, and we need to forgive. That's all God can ask for. It doesn't mean we tolerate sin. It just means we love and care for the sinner. I pray for people to be saved all the time, believe it or not. Our dear Congresswoman from New York, who's in the news all the time, I pray for her.
Who's that?
What is her name? How can I all of a sudden have her name escape me?
From New York.
From the Bronx.
Oh, AOC, yeah.
AOC, thank you.
The bartender.
The bartender. We make a lot of jokes about her, but honestly, I pray that she would see the light. I have to confess, here's how I truly pray. Mm-hmm. That people would see the light or that God would destroy them. Mm-hmm. To me, there's no middle ground.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I ever told the story years ago. I had a childhood friend. We were about 12 years old together, and we were in the Boy Scouts together and things. And many years later, after I became a Christian, actually probably about 6 months after I got saved, he ended up being stationed at Fort Bliss, Texas, right there in El Paso, where I was living. And he called. I had not seen him in probably, at least 10 years. Okay. And because we were last time I saw him, he was probably 13 and I would have been about same age. Mm-hmm. And then we had moved away and it might have been 12. But anyway, but he knew where I lived and where I was. So he called and I started preaching to him. I don't know if I told this story, but anyway.
Yeah, a couple of times. But it's very apropos to today's topic.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah. So I tried to witness to him, tried to get him to come to the Lord because I was on these really radical, on fire young believer. Mm-hmm. And he kind of hid from me and mm-hmm. wouldn't see me or anything for a while. And so I just happened to be walking down the hall and see a Christian brother in the hospital. And I walked by this room, look in, and there's my friend Phil laid up in the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, he was laid there. And I said, wow. And so I went in and talked to him and everything. And it was his knee. He had injured his knee and he had been there for probably a week.
Was this an Army hospital?
Yeah. Beaumont Military Hospital in El Paso at Fort Bliss. So anyway, and so I went to see our Christian brother and I said, hey, pray for this guy next door. And every time you come in, stop by and say hi. And as you leave, talk to him again and leave. Because the other David, the other brother, the Christian brother, was very popular. And so anyway, about a week later, David was being released. Mm-hmm. And I went to Phil and I'm sitting there with him and I said, how you doing? What's going on? He said, oh man. Oh yeah. And I remember somebody asked me before this is what's interesting. Mm-hmm. What happened to your friend Phil? I said, oh, he's running from God. I hope God just steps on him and until he sees him and accepts him, And so I never realized the power of our words, but I said this and I meant it, that God would just step on it. Well, anyway, I go into Phil, how's it going? Eddie, I don't know what's going on. My knee won't get better. They can't release me because I'm not showing any improvement. And so I said, oh, that's too bad. So I kept witnessing when David got released. So I would go see Phil, and I gave him some Christian literature to read and kept witnessing to him, and all these people who had been coming in. So I come in one night, and Phil's in the bed smiling and looking upbeat and everything. And we're talking about stuff. He said, hey, aren't you going to ask me what happened? I said, no, I'm sorry. What happened? He said, I accepted the Lord last night after you left. I prayed to receive the Lord. And I said, wow, okay, great. And he said, yeah. And I said, well, Phil, I prayed that God wouldn't let you out of here till you accept him. And he said, you did what? His eyes got me. No, you can't do that. Don't. I said, oh, you mean you believe? Yeah, I believe. Okay, well, good. That's the first step, Yeah. So then we prayed, and after we got done, I'll never forget this. I'll never forget these words. He looked at me. He said, wow. He said, why didn't you tell me how wonderful it is to pray and communicate with God? I said, I could have told you, but you wouldn't have understood. You wouldn't have believed me.
That's true.
And he truly could feel the power of God as he was praying. I said, well, Phil, you're going to get out of here. In 3 days, he was gone. He was out of the hospital. And, but anyway, it's just one of those deals that I don't believe it's wrong for us to pray that God would destroy the flesh and save the soul. That's what Paul, do you remember? Paul said, I pray that you would destroy the flesh to save the soul, which means you can have Christians in sin, but those who believe their flesh would perish, but they would see the Lord and end up having eternal life after all. And my interpretation is they would come to a realization that they've been wrong and that they need God at the end, Yeah. So, but anyway, I've always done that. So I'm not afraid to pray against people. And I pray that people would turn or physically be destroyed. Well, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
You're praying a prayer out of love for them.
Right.
It's not vengeful. It's not, because I hate them, a curse or anything.
Well,
like
and
that.
not only that, okay, if the Jews were truly a type, okay, if they were a type for us to learn from their whole experience.
Yeah.
The annihilation of entire villages and nations at that time, basically, it was not with the intent to destroy and kill those people. And you know what? Joan, hold on.
Yeah.
I forgot I had her coming in. Anyway, it was not the intention to do that, but to show a lesson. And today, God's still at work. And I'm going to let you take over here.
All right. I'm going to go over today's notes while you're talking to her.
Yes,
and then you just let me know what we're going to do. So, folks, it's December. It's getting to be Christmas time. And we started our show a little early, but we've got a little bit of a adjustment here to do on our schedule. Yeah. So anyway, I tell you what, we're going to be talking about today. As I put it in the show notes, the red meat provocateurs. Now, as a Republican young guy, I remember one of my first heroes, Pat Buchanan, because he could throw red meat. And you know what? Folks like me love that red meat, okay? The people who are into politics really love that red meat. The problem is sometimes you don't know where they're taking you. To quote Frank Peretti, in an entirely different context in his famous books of the 80s, This Present Darkness and Piercing the Darkness, he said, where are we going? Where are you taking us? And so you have to look at what's going to happen with these folks. And you got to just, really count the cost, because sometimes the idea sounds good until it's taken to its excesses. There are things such as, getting tough on crime. In Oklahoma, we elected many years ago a Republican governor who's a former FBI agent, Frank Peretti, and boy, he was going to get tough on crime. The problem is, when you're born into this world as a hammer, you like to think everything's a nail. And you like to think that the things that would influence you to change your ways is going to prevail in influencing everybody else. That's just not true. Lawmakers think that if we raise the taxes on tobacco high enough, everybody will quit smoking. You know what? It's not true. What will increase is poverty, because according to a pretty prominent national study, 42% of all tobacco products are consumed by those with a mental illness. And they're actually using it as a therapy, not a smart therapy, but nicotine actually has a therapeutic effect on the brain. Not a good medicine, but nonetheless a medicine. Now, the other thing is, addictions. When you're addicted to it, some people have no problem quitting smoking. Some people go to their grave never able to. And I believe them when they say it's not because I didn't try. Addictions, physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual addictions are different in their holds on different people. So what happened with Keating, with his 3 strikes and you're out kind of stuff, it was nuts the way it was carried out in some ways. For instance, CBD oil. You can buy it at the drugstore. It has very therapeutic uses. I'm not talking about pot. It has no psychedelic, effect without the THC, but just the oil. If a mother carried that in her purse 10 years ago, she got a 5-year prison sentence facing her. I'm not saying it was mandated 5 years, but they could send you away for up to 5 years for that CBD oil. You can buy it on Amazon now. Okay? The Farm Bill made it legal nationally. But see, this is the thing. We sometimes get so bent out of shape, we lose our perspective. So where are we going? Where are you taking us? And right now, we're seeing a lot of people in the different, political circles wanting to be the next Ann Coulter. If you don't know Ann Coulter's, maybe you're better off. But, the kind of red meat provocateurs that say shocking things and sell a lot of books because of it. And there are a lot of those people who make a living on the lecture circuit and selling books and throwing out more and more just sensational narratives. Nick Fuentes is one of those people, and he's got a lot of people following him. Candace Owens is somebody, got a lot of followers now. She's saying some pretty far out there things, some of her conspiracy theories. Alex Jones has always been doing that. I've studied Alex Jones for years. There are 3 ways to write a headline. There's the minimalizing, there's the in context headline, and then there's the Alex Jones sensationalize it to the far extremes and scare a lot of people. And it's clickbait. It truly is clickbait. So we've got that going on right now. And there's a young man that I hope Eddie and I, when he gets done with his quick little meeting, he'll get a chance to talk to us about somebody that he and I discovered about the same time in 2015, maybe early 2016. It's a young British man named Milo Yiannopoulos. Milo is a very articulate young man. who Tucker Carlson this week had a discussion with. It's very interesting, some of the things he said. Brilliant mind, but struggling with a lot of issues in his life. There's a good story, if I can believe it, and I want to believe it. And Milo, who called himself the flamboyant faggot, I think, or something like that. That was his words, not mine. And he came on the scene. What he ended up doing was mainstreaming homosexuality as a viable lifestyle in Republican circles. And now he's realizing how he was lied to and how he was lying to us. He's now a devout Catholic. He said he's been 5 years celibate. He's totally disavowed homosexuality. He says it's not something you're born with. It's an appetite. He says, like any appetite, the more you divulge yourself in it, the greater that appetite can grow. And, you know, it's really interesting what he's saying. He has really been reaching out to George Santos. He believes George, since his, prison and being pardoned by Trump, he's come out a very changed man. George is sorting a number of things in his life out. I don't have anything to tell you officially, but Milo says one day George will be putting homosexuality completely behind him. He uses slightly different words, but that's essentially what he's saying. And so that's going on. Now, Tucker is roundly criticized for interviewing Nick Fuentes, who is accused of being a white nationalist, a separatist, or any number of things, but nobody seems to be able to produce quotes. At least I haven't read them. And believe me, I've studied and studied and studied. I can't find the quotes that they base that on. It's, look, I want to know what's the truth. The problem, as Tucker sees it with George, with Nick Fuentes, is that he seems to kind of group people and pigeonhole them and judge individuals by whatever group they're a part of. And he's pretty roundly criticized by the Jewish community for generalized statements he makes about Israel, about Jewish people, and things like that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. I hope that can happen. What Milo Yiannopoulos, who had been working with Nick a little bit, only in this regard, Milo was hired 3 years ago to work for Kanye West, or Ye as he goes by now, because Kanye truly wanted to run for president. Milo ended up getting Kanye a sit-down dinner with Trump, a little meeting. Kanye decided he was going to bring one of his advisors, Nick Fuentes, in. Now, what's a black man doing with Nick Fuentes on his campaign steering committee? Because if Nick is truly the, quote, racist, the white supremacist that people would have you think, and why is Kanye bringing this guy on? Well, anyway, so they had a sit-down meeting with Trump, and it freaked out the AIPAC Jewish lobby. And but Milo, who set that whole thing up in the short, maybe 6 weeks, he worked as an advisor to Kanye. Since then, Milo's not had very many good things to say about Nick. He says it's not about his policies or his views on any particular thing. It's Nick's lack of character, as Milo characterizes it, in how he deals with people. So evidently, Nick Fuentes has screwed over some people, and it's coming back to bite. At least that's how Milo will put it. So we've got that going on. Candace Owens has been saying some pretty far out things. Now, remember, she used to be part of the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's organization, and she said some things questioning the Israeli policies on some stuff, and she was shown the door. She set up her own media operation, evidently has a massive YouTube following. Well, Candace is right now in the middle of a civil suit with President Macron's family, his wife Bridget, because Candace claims that she's actually he, President Macron's wife Bridget. And there's a defamation suit going on there. But what's really got her working up a lot of people is her claims of conspiracy theories about Charlie Kirk's assassination. She's questioning whether Charlie Kirk's even dead. Milo Yiannopoulos seems to be pretty tight with Candace Owens, and he's kind of repeating some of that stuff, or at least he did with Tucker this week. So it's really interesting what's going on there. I don't know, but I do know this. These are all people who have been and continue to be interested in doing the Ann Coulter shtick, the throwing the red meat out there, the old Pat Buchanan thing. It sells books. It gets you on TV, gets you on the lecture circuit. You make a pretty good career out of, throwing red meat out there. Milo's actually particularly good at it. The thing is, if you're a good wordsmith, which I'm not, okay, words don't come to me as smoothly as for some people. But for Milo, that's what he does, and that's what he can do. So we'll see what goes on with that. And anyway, let's see what else is going on. I tell you what, Eddie's got a lot going on. He's made his living, his career for the last 20, 30 years as an insurance salesman. We're coming to you from the Eddie Huff Insurance Office studios. And he's actually talking to somebody right now about, those things. So we're getting all that taken care of. And also, big on today's schedule, we'll get into at the end of the show, will be a team that Eddie kind of likes. I don't know why, but it's Texas Tech. He seems to think they're good. Is that true, Eddie?
Like I came here.
All right. I did a little bit of a preview on, but I want to hear, you've followed Milo since 2015. Yeah. And I heard you on Pat Campbell's show talking about it. I said, Eddie's read that guy's stuff too.
Yeah, back when he was the outrageous faggot.
I can't hear you right now. You're muted.
I'm sorry. I said, yeah, ever since back when he was the outrageous faggot.
Yes.
In fact, it's funny because on KFAQ, I have to tell this story. So a lady calls me one day and she's talking about Milo and how she liked Milo, and even though he's gay or homosexual, and that he calls himself the outrageous faggot. That was his name diploma or whatever. So anyway, and I was telling her, I said, yeah, it's interesting. He has done to the word faggot what black people have done, or actually, or what should be done with the word nigger.
Yes.
And so she said, what? I said, yeah, because, and I liken it to the term okie and nerd.
Yeah.
Back in the, all the way up until the late 60s when Merle Haggard came out with Okie from Muskogee, the term Okie was a derogatory name for it. Was like nigger to an Oklahoman.
The Californians called us that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was saying, but when Merle's song, I'm just an Okie from Muskogee, all of a sudden it became cool to be an Okie.
Yeah.
And then there was the movie Revenge of the Nerds. I don't know if you ever, it was kind of a revolutionary movie film in the early 80s.
Kind of a National Lampoon thing, right?
Right, exactly. And ever since then, it wasn't derogatory anymore to call somebody a nerd. It's, oh, you nerd, and every time you hear the word nerd now, you think of a smart person. You don't think of them as an outcast or some weird person. Everybody used to talk about the nerds in the school as some weird guy, creepy guy or something, or girl. And now when you think of nerd, you think Stephen Jobs, Bill Gates,
yes,
Elon Musk.
Yes.
I mean, that's
if you're lucky, your paycheck will be signed by a nerd.
Yeah, right. Or you are the nerd signing the paychecks. Yeah. And so it just shows how it's all a matter of attitude.
Yeah.
So I was trying to say that if Black people would just allow us to take the sting or stigma out of the term nigger. And it's funny because the Black community, the people always, one of the most common things, that's my nigga over there. Mm-hmm. This is a Black person talking to the other one, or I mean, if you listen to rap music, it's just nothing but the N-word all the time. Yep. So anyway, and I was just trying to say that I came up with this thing, we need to set the nigger free.
Yep.
And once you do that, then in fact, young kids, the high school generation and junior high, white and Black, the friends and all, they don't see it as a derogatory term anymore because they use it with each other. And, like some Black guy will say, oh yeah, that's Jimmy over there. Mm-hmm. That's Jimmy's my nigga, Yeah. And but anyway, somebody at the station, one of the program director heard me discussing this. And next thing I know, I'm called into the office with the head of HR for Channel 2. Because
they owned your radio station.
They owned the station. They called me in. The program director was there, the station, all these. And I'm in this room with these people. And first they called Pat in. And then they called me in. And it was funny because they said, this is an offensive term and da-da-da-da. And then, so what do you have to say for yourself? And I said, well, what's even more interesting, and I think worse than what I just said, is that I'm the only person in this building that could be offended. Mm-hmm. And you should have seen it instantly. The tone changed because I was the only person employed by the radio station or any of the stations.
Who was Black?
That was Black. They didn't even have any Hispanic.
They're trying to get rid of the only Black guy they got.
Well, I alluded to that fact, in that I told him, I said, you know what, you have a bigger problem. Oh yeah, what's that? And it was this Black HR guy, a gay Black.
Ah, yes, of course.
And he was all uppity and trying to, for lack of better, I'm gonna put this nigga in his place, but. It didn't work out so well. Mm-hmm. In fact, he was fired like 3 months after this. He was gone. I was still there.
Wow.
Nevertheless, the whole point was, as soon as I pointed out their hypocrisy, that they're majoring on this word that I don't see as a big deal, versus the bigger issue that they don't have any other Black people in the whole building. And they did have a receptionist, a Black receptionist, and she left because she felt they were racist, And so, but once I pointed that out, then all of a sudden, oh crap, now we have dug ourselves into this hole. How do we dig ourselves out? So all of a sudden, now they're trying to, and they offer me this nice.
Oh, you got a pay raise out of it.
Well, yeah. a nice severance package.
Oh, okay.
Which I accepted.
Oh, there you go.
Because I was thinking, I don't want to work with a place like this.
Yeah, it's hostile work environment.
Right. What happened? It had been sold. It used to be Scripps, and before that, it was Journal Broadcast.
Yeah.
Journal Broadcasting.
They were good.
They were good. And then Scripps came in. It changed a bit. But then when the Channel 2, that was Scripps. Channel 2 is owned by Scripps.
Right.
KCBD or whatever.
KJRH.
KJRH.
Yeah.
Owned by Scripps, or was anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when things changed, because they had this same liberal corporate mentality, which was stupid. It was politically.
It started out looking good.
Yeah.
Because you got Tammy Marler out of the deal.
Right.
Great journalist.
Right. But they drove her away.
Yeah.
Same deal. Basically, if you were conservative, they didn't like you.
Yeah.
So that's how we ended up. And anyway, in any event, but it was funny that they were all high and mighty about this. So anyway, and getting back to the original point here, I feel, and Milo felt the same about the word faggot or gay or this or that as I felt about nigger. That the sting is only there when you continue to allow it to be a sting.
Okay.
Do you understand? Does that make sense to you?
Can I get some advice from you then?
Okay. Yeah, your son-in-law.
Well, no, this is about me.
Oh, okay. About you.
I'm a little lighter shade of beige than you. Okay.
A little bit.
But there is the issue for a guy like me of, I got to pick which battles I'm going to fight, which hill I want to die on.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So am I going to avoid something like that could be a distraction for me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm not advising white people out there to start calling every black person a nigger or something. Mm-hmm. No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is we need to get to the point where we're not offended.
Yeah.
When we hear it. I mean, why is it any better to hear black people call each other that? It would be like, you and meeting with a bunch of other white people and being offended by honky or nerd or cracker or whatever. Yeah. In fact, it was actually white people that were calling the educated whites were calling the Hicks crackers. That's a cracker from Alabama, or a cracker from, or a Peckerwood,
Yeah, no, I heard it was actually a customer of mine many years ago talked about somebody who was white trash. I says, what? She's white trash. I said, is that like black trash?
Yeah.
Said, oh, yeah, you're right. We shouldn't say it about anybody. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I was like, hey, you're associating my skin tone with trash.
Right. Well, here's what I think needs to happen. I'm not advocating that white people start running around calling calling black people or using the word nigger in their daily speech. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, quit being offended when you hear it and let the next generation, where you have black kids and white kids together and they're able to call each other that without being offended. Yeah. So what you've got to do is just allow it not to be an issue. Just don't make it an issue. Just say, okay, it's another word and let it die that way, because otherwise you're going to continue to make it worse and worse and worse. And it's actually just being held. It's a term being held hostage, actually.
Okay, I got another one to throw at you. I saw it on X this morning. It says, retard hasn't been used to refer to the mentally disabled for decades. It refers to stupid people. If you don't know that, you're a retard.
That's actually pretty good. But it's funny. And I was talking about this morning with this group of men that I meet with. And because it came up, this whole deal, and it's funny because if you've never seen the movie with Vince Vaughn, and I can't think of the name of it again now, but it's about Google, and where he becomes an intern
Oh, I saw that.
Right.
And you joined this working group and you got a task to do.
Right.
Yeah,
and
some alphabet.
But he's older.
Yes.
But he's like 40, in his 40s, and it's all these young kids at the Google campus. They go to actually a campus where they have to study and work.
Well, it was him and was it Owen Wilson was in it too?
Yeah, I think he was.
Yes.
But it was somebody he was competing with that your group competes. Well, anyway, and at first he had a hard time relating to these young kids and them to him and all. But they hit this breaking point where they actually became one good team. Yeah. Anyway, but they're out partying. They went to some bar or club, something, and they're sitting around there drinking and laughing. And somebody tells a joke, and Vince Vaughn yells out, "That's my Googler." And that's like in black societies, that's my nigga. And my nigga means that's my boy. That's my guy. You know, that's, but nobody caught that unless you're a black person that knew the culture. Yeah. So when he said, "That's my Googler," okay, what he was really saying, "That's my nigga." But they used it for Google, you know, and they just threw it. And it told me that there was somebody black that was involved in the writing crew of this film. Yeah. But anyway, but things like that people don't even think about or catch. That, you know, I don't know. You remember I've written extensively on Facebook and different things that I've done where I don't believe in race. Okay. There's somebody once said there's one race and it's the human race. And we have chosen to divide us into races. But what we've really done is divide us into class. And so, and we've talked about this before.
Class and tribe, right?
Yeah, right. But even tribe, but I'm talking about on the macro scale. Yeah. It's a race. They've done the race, you know, white, Asian, and black. Yeah. Okay.
Red and yellow, black and white.
Yeah, and red. Yeah, I forgot about it. Sorry, my Native American friends to leave it. They're always getting left out, poor guys.
But I forgive you.
Well, thank you. Even though you're just a honky.
I am a Native American.
You're
born in America. You're Native American.
Yeah, let's not go there. That's a whole other.
I'm not an Aboriginal, though.
Right.
Okay.
But anyway, you know, we've done this to divide. But historically, they're all related back to Noah. Sure. Okay. And for whatever reason, I guess with the Tower of Babel, he didn't only confuse the languages, he confused the pigmentation in our genes as well. But sons of Ham, you know, and then you've got Japheth and Shem. Ham, Shem, and Japheth are the three different sons of Noah that went in different ways at the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, and really, I think Darwin was right on this. Those are what's called mutations, which are environmentally coerced.
Right. The only problem with that is that Darwin was a racist.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, have we talked about the actual title of Origin of the Species?
Yeah. The most favored races.
Right. And his brother was the head of Eugenics Society way back in the 1800s and all. So there's so much. I mean, there's so much. Yeah, the whole issue of race.
The point is that if you live in an environment that is more conducive to a lighter skin, eventually the population will get lighter skin.
Well, not only that, but mixing races. The interesting thing, Dr. Walter Martin, as you remember, Kingdom of the Cults, he was my Sunday school teacher, and we became friends. And we'd go to his house, and I'd hear him talk, and he would tell these stories about how it's scientifically proven that as the breeding goes, it always moves toward the lighter, the whiter. So you could take two black people, if you get a lighter mutation or change, and you breed those, and it goes lighter and lighter and lighter. In fact, in Australia, what they had their Secretary of State. You can read about this. I'm not lying about this. This was back in the 30s or 40s. I think it was in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
But what they did, they had this practice of taking Aboriginal kids, and if they had mixed ones, the mixed ones, lighter ones, they took them and they put them in special homes and would interbreed them. And they literally came out and said, we're going to breed the black out of them. That was it, So they purposely were doing genetic engineering by breeding these Aboriginals until they got a white. They were trying to essentially exterminate the race eventually, but they were doing it rather than Hitler trying to exterminate them all. Yeah. They did it through a planned breeding where they were going to breed the lighter and smarter and lighter and smarter until they got back basically to white. Because nowadays you can find in Australia, you'll find these people with the Aboriginal background, but they look like they're white, but they have
right. What Hitler did in that, though, he took, very, very, had to be just that right Aryan kind of thing, and only they were allowed to breed with themselves.
Right. But he was hypocritical because he didn't fit the Aryan.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and he was actually where he's born was historically Austria.
Right.
So he wasn't even a true German.
Right. He was an Austrian. Well, yeah, but he that's why he took over. Remember? That's right. Took over Austria.
But I want to say this, Eddie. These kind of things just happen, the mixing on its own. Your mom and dad, my daughter and her husband. It's just, the reason my great-grandmother insisted to my great-grandfather, we got to leave North Dakota or South Dakota and go someplace where they're Catholics. So otherwise, our teenage boys are going to end up marrying Lutherans.
Right.
Swedish Lutherans.
How dare they? How dare
and so, there's certain people that just want to keep, when you think you're more superior than someone else, you want to keep more pure and don't let them, corrupt our breed.
Yeah, but see, again, it's not about race, it's about class distinction. So, for example, the difference is if I'm a low-bred, as you would say, low-born, British person back pre-1800, okay?
Yeah.
Where they had no black people in relation with black people. And in fact, we've talked about this before, the show Poldark, which is now on Netflix, by the way. You can watch Poldark and it's in the top 10. Again, it was a PBS show. But anyway, and they would talk about, you had this high society class, and they were always talking about you should learn how to behave around your betters. Like this class was better than that class.
That was common vernacular growing up.
Exactly. And because they didn't have black people to lord it over.
Yeah.
They lorded it over each other, and it was about money and financial. Well, and we've talked about this before, that if I was a white person in England, born to a low class, but I was smart and I studied the vernacular and diction, and spoke like I was, like My Fair Lady. Remember where he taught her how to speak and to make it.
Fantastic movie.
Right. And so if I could do that back then and I moved to another town or a city where no one knew me, I could introduce myself as the son of Lord Shasta and Lord something, and people would accept me. The problem was if you were black, you couldn't do that because your skin always said, low class, low class. And so even in America, even now, you have a struggle between black people and Hispanic people and Native Americans where no one wants to be low man or woman on the totem pole.
Right.
So they're always fighting with each other that, well, we're better than them. Anglos are the epitome. That's the best. That's the top of the heap.
Just ask any Brit. They'll tell you.
Yeah. So, or German, or French person, just high-minded people. But anyway, so we're all down here, and we're like the crabs we're going to pull you down. So I'm
they
next in the
think
picture.
tearing another guy down somehow going to elevate them. No,
Exactly.
But Eddie, I have to say, my son-in-law, Khalil, he's not like light skin black. I mean, pretty dark skin black, right? And my daughter one day decided, hey, says to my brothers, let's go together and get Dad that ancestry DNA thing. See if he's really telling us the truth about all these things he claims. And what do you know? Dad is telling the truth. So she says, Khalil, tell me about your ancestry. And like a lot of black folks didn't have it.
Right.
Alex Guinness, Alex Haley actually was, one of those that gave a narrative story with the TV series Roots that became massively popular. But here's the thing. That I claim to be Belgian, right? My last name comes from that Belgian heritage. My daughter, I'm only 1/4 Belgian on my father's side. I don't tell you this, Eddie, but I'm more German than anything. But I claim to be Belgian, so I'm better than you.
Well, that's a dispute.
Okay.
Area of dispute.
But here, let me get to my point.
Have you ever seen a Belgian coffee cup?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
that would put you where the handle is on the inside of the cup.
They're made in Germany, but
no, in Holland.
Yeah.
You got the Holland, the Dutch, and the Germans going against the Belgians. So
here's the thing: my daughter, then, because I'm only a 4th Belgian, she's only 1/8 Belgian.
Right.
You know who else is 1/8 Belgian? My son-in-law,
right.
The black kid, is 1/8 Belgian.
Yeah.
He's just as Belgian as she is.
Right.
But, Eddie, it goes to your point. It's too simple and easy to base it on what shade of beige you came out.
Right. Like my grandson, my newest grandson. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen a picture of him. It's in there.
I think I did, yeah.
Blonde and blue-eyed. Mm-hmm. Blonde and blue-eyed.
Yeah.
He is my grandson. He stems from the Huff drain or stem.
Hey, we're in eastern Oklahoma. There's a ton of Cherokees are blonde, blue-eyed.
Right. But this is a blonde, blue-eyed black person,
Yeah.
So, and that's what I was saying. Walter Martin again said that you can breed to white, but you can't breed to black.
Yeah.
You're not going to end up with a black person by trying to breed people. In other words, you can't start with 2 white people and end up with a black person, but you can start with 2 black people and then end up with a white person.
Okay, the thing I was saying where I'm citing Darwin and saying is correct. It's this principle that the book is based on. It's the ability of a species to reproduce itself that determines its future. Will it survive? And amongst those things are environmental. Can you handle the heat? Can you handle the sun? And the ones who stay healthier in those difficult environments are more likely to reproduce. And that's what I'm thinking. It's not so much the inbreeding and selectivity, but whose body and genetics and features can best tolerate the environment we're in.
But see, I don't agree with that. I don't because here you can take a black person and put them in Antarctica or Sweden, which we've seen. If you go to Sweden, you got a whole lot of Africans there and Middle Easterners up there. Okay. So we can, as men, we adapt. We're able to adapt. And you have a lot of, now initially white people couldn't survive in the interior of Africa.
That's what I'm getting
But it wasn't because of the heat. It was because of the disease that the Africans had become immune to and able to deal with.
Well, that's another factor.
Right. I
don't think it's just one. It's all kinds of factors.
Right. But
I can tell you, my skin will burn like crazy where yours won't.
That's true. But after a while, your skin will toughen, harden. Otherwise, you'd have no white people in Africa. You would have no white people in Australia surviving. And so we're in the outback where the sun is really, really high.
It's getting lighter. I mean, but about October, this was getting pretty close to your tone.
That's what white people always say.
It was getting, but you wait. In May, this will be pearly white.
Right.
In that,
Through the winter and spring.
So
right.
yes, my body can adapt some.
Right, but I'm still saying that it's environmental, and we are able to adapt to all the. That's the nature of man, and I always say, see, the reason Europeans were able to be scientifically and just societally able to become smarter or able to deal with things better is because they had to. In other words, to survive in Scandinavia and in most of Europe through the winters and the summers and everything, they had to adapt.
Adapt or die.
Adapt or die. Yeah. Whereas when I'm in Africa and the plants and fruits and vegetables just grow wildly and naturally without, and all year long, I have a food source.
Yeah.
Whereas in Europe, I remember the stories about in America, the pioneers, they had to spend 9 months chopping wood to have enough wood to burn to keep themselves warm all winter.
Right.
In Africa, I didn't have to chop anything.
Right.
I walk up and pluck my food off the tree or dig it out of the ground. So, and it's nature's way in the nature of man to say, well, man, there's got to be an easier way to do this.
Well, yeah.
So that's where the invention, that's why.
My son and daughter were doing missionary work down in the Yucatan Peninsula, the Mayan portion of Mexico. And yeah, you just go trees everywhere, fruit, just the most amazing stuff.
Year round.
But they had other things to deal with. For instance, because we live in such a sterilized American society where we put chlorine in everything and formaldehyde and fluoride and all this stuff. You go down to Mexico, try drinking the water, you get sick. The Mexicans don't. They have adapted to those things that we haven't, and it's almost like the Indians with smallpox. Mm-hmm. They had nothing to defend, and several of them died. Some of them adapted and survived.
Yeah, but there's a term, adapt or die. Mm-hmm. It's not a natural evolutionary deal. It's just we have adapted to our environment.
It's not evolution, it's mutation.
Well, I don't even see a mutation. I don't think that Black Africans today are any different from Black Africans 1,000 years ago. You take Europe, Scandinavia, there's no difference. The only thing is that if they have changed environments, they've adapted.
That's what I'm getting at.
Right, but they've not mutated. They've just adapted engineering-wise, scientifically, whatever, and usually because they had to. The pioneers that originally came and headed west, you remember they're very weathered.
Eddie, your tight black curls are a mutation from what my redhead childhood was. I mutated one way, or my lineage, yours another way.
That's one part, but what if when they were born that way from Noah? What if Ham, when he was born, turned to be black?
It could.
Japheth turned out to be.
There's no reference to it.
No. Well, there's no reference to a whole lot of stuff in the Bible, but you kind of have to use your common sense. Yeah. If you believe that every human person came from Noah, okay, then and you have to accept the fact that
right. But when you're referring to, say, Isaac's two boys, Esau was burly, hairy, redhead, and they literally talked about the difference in their characteristics.
And they had the same father.
Even though they had same father, same mother, but it actually led to a story of deception was the reason they put it in there, I believe. Right. It doesn't usually talk about, it mentions David's ruddy appearance. I don't even know what ruddy means, but anyway, that's it. But we are going off on that.
I know. Well, no, I think our conversations really and hopefully spark interest on people at home to do some research.
Well, here's the thing.
And not to just accept what they hear.
But Milo says, biggest lie, a PR campaign of the homosexual steering people was that they're born that way.
Right.
Milo says, it's a load of crap.
It is. He
says homosexuality is not an orientation. It's an appetite.
Exactly.
And the more you partake in it, the more you desire it. It's like, he says, he turned to Tucker Carlson. He says, you're a married man. He says, every married man knows the less he's getting it from his wife, the less he desires it. Tucker like getting a little bit blush. He says, the more, he says, the thing that he says more than anything leads to the homosexual thing, it's trauma, especially prepubescent. If you've been molested prepubescent, he says, and it has to do too with how healthy was your relationship with your parents. He says having an absent dad and an overbearing mom seems to be one of those indicators. He doesn't claim to know all of it, but he's saying as somebody who's lived and advocated, he says, I deeply, deeply regret how effective I was at mainstreaming homosexuality within the Republican sector.
Right. Well, you know who else is Tammy Bruce? Tammy Bruce was a lesbian.
Yeah, here's the thing he said. He talked about Tammy. He says, of all the people, he says, I don't believe any guys are from birth born that way. He says, now, I don't understand lesbian, but I do know this. Tammy Bruce has told me, she says, that's all I ever had any interest in.
Well, I heard Tammy myself. I saw her and heard her say that every lesbian she knows was led into it by an older one. Every last one. Not anything about being born that way. She actually said this. She said that every lesbian she knows was led into that lifestyle by an older lesbian woman.
I'm more likely to believe you than Milo on this, okay? Mm-hmm. Because I know you and that. And everything Milo's telling me, I have to have some reticence because Milo's made a career and name for himself by sensationalizing narratives, some of which he disavows later. And he sold us a bill of goods. You, like most people I wish I was, knew better than to vote for Joy Hoffmeister. I fell for it.
Oh, you voted for Joy Hoffmeister? I never knew that.
Well, in the beginning.
Right.
See, and you were the John Cox supporter.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So anyway.
Yeah. I voted. Yeah. I supported John way back before I knew John.
When he got you in trouble with fellow Republicans.
It did. Yeah, it did. You're right. It got me kicked out of the executive committee of the party.
Well, that and a couple other.
Which is funny. I'll tell you what's funny. Okay. They kicked me off the executive committee because I told somebody that I was voting for Joy Hoffmeister. It turned around here 10 years later that they were actually promoting a woman who was campaign manager for Democrats to be the head of the Tulsa Republican Party. Mm-hmm. And then I became the bad guy with a certain group of people, because I was opposed to that. Mm-hmm. That to me, there's a difference in supporting a candidate whose entire staff is Republican, who is truly I would call her a dino, a Democrat in name only.
Yeah.
And that's back when I supported the former insurance commissioner. That was right. My deal. And because I met her and I knew all of the people. In fact, one of her staff, her staff people was Jonathan Smalls, who is now what?
The head of OCPA, the leading conservative think tank in Oklahoma.
And he was one of the main staff people for our former insurance commissioner.
And here's the other thing. When I've repeated this story to others, I said, Eddie's career is tied to the decisions made by that office. And Eddie's not going to risk that role and that effect on some politician who buys the office and claims the R after their word.
Right. We've got the same situation now with governor. What's his name that's out there doing the most ads other than other than Gentner?
McCall?
McCall, who became a Republican the week before he ran for the state office. Was a Democrat all his life, and all of a sudden he decides, I'm going to become a Republican, and now I'm going to run for this office. So how much Republican do you really have in you? And not just that, like I said, the woman who was running to run the Republican Party is campaign chairman for Democrats. Hello, and you got people that think I'm the bad guy because I wouldn't support this person.
Yeah.
And we're not talking way back support them. We're talking recently.
Last spring.
Yeah. In fact,
and this person you're referring to did not win ultimately.
No, ultimately did not win. But I have been an outcast from a certain segment of the party here in Tulsa because I opposed her, that candidate. So anyway, it's just sometimes, me, I'm always a gadfly. I just don't buy. I like to investigate. That's one reason I went against, Cruz and all the people running against Trump.
You poked the bear too.
Yeah, all the time. And I still do. It's just this discernment. And here's what's so funny, and we've talked about this before. He was just savagely malicious against Ted Cruz and Trump was, and Marco and Marco Rubio.
Oh, every one of them.
Little hands Marco. And all. I mean, he was. But here's the deal. Here it shows the character of Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, that they afterwards became two of his staunchest supporters.
And Lindsey Graham.
And Lindsey, right.
Right.
And so Lindsey, I'm not so sure.
No, I know it.
But what I'm saying is, Marco in particular has now been elevated to the third highest position in America. And personally, I would almost put him ahead of the vice president for my support.
Yep.
Simply because of the character he showed in not getting so bitter and upset that he worked against the president. He just joined in what he saw as the vision. Now, on the other side of that is Rand Paul. Rand Paul is daily becoming more and more an adversary of the president. And
I don't think for the same reasons, though. Rand, it truly is policy.
Yeah, but see, to me, his policy, in some of it I agree with. Okay, a lot of it I agree. But certain things, it just seems he's being against it because the president is against it. And some of it, I don't even agree with Rand Paul on some of his policies.
Well, of course, he's very much like Thomas Massey.
Yeah.
And now what's Trump doing? He's trying to get somebody to run against Thomas Massey.
Well, yeah.
I am not with Trump on that.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm not saying Trump is always right. But Ted Cruz, there's been too many. Like Thomas Massey, there's the one issue where really, as we say in the Black community, he tore his drawers and he messed up. Or look at what's her name from Georgia.
Yeah.
What's her name? Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was a devout, staunch ally, and he supported her. And but something happened in there to create this adverse situation, and now they're at odds with each other.
Let me say something about Marjorie. She's more alpha male than most of the males in Congress. She is not going to
go away quietly.
Yeah. She doesn't need this.
Right.
She's a very successful businesswoman.
Right.
She ran a construction company. That's being a man in a man's world. And I don't know. I think there's a whole lot more we'll find out of what happened there. But to her, ultimately, she says, you know what? I don't want like where this is going. I don't need it. And she's more effective now being kingmaker than trying to claim the crown.
Right. Yeah. No, I like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not against her, and I hate to see what happened, but it could be if she's more influential and has more positive input into the party, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, I read on Twitter this week, she said Trump came to her trying to get her to back off from that petition to release the Epstein records. She says, Trump says, you're going to hurt a lot of people doing that. And she said, the victims want this out there because they want to expose who and what is driving this crime syndicate.
But here's the other side of it to me, okay? Who is really driving it? For some reason, why was this not an issue in the past 4 years? So to me, the people behind it really are Democrats and Trump haters.
But Eddie, you're falling for a fallacy here. You're saying, no, this is the motivation. And I'm saying, no, this. They're both motivating different people.
Has anything I just said, is any of that a lie?
I'm saying.
No, answer that question first.
It's not whether it's a lie or not.
It is. It is. I mean, what I'm saying is everything that I just said is the truth, is exactly that. Nothing was done when it first came up, it came up under the Trump, at the end, like the last year or so of the Trump administration.
Yeah.
The Democrats had 4 years to deal with this and say something about it. Not a word.
I understand that.
Okay.
I condemn their motives and their intents.
Right. So why should we help the Democrats?
You're falling for it.
No, I'm not falling for anything. I'm telling, here's the truth. It wasn't an issue when somebody else was the president. If they had something on Trump, et cetera,
I get that.
Okay. For some reason, this goes back into the early 2000s. Okay. Yeah. So now I'll give you a sample of, or an example of how this works. Bill Cosby was the gem of comedians in America for 50 years. Okay. He got up and made a speech at the NAACP National Conference where he started saying Black people needed a clean house. The kids are out of control. Yep. They're sweeping stuff under the rug. They need to clean it up. All of a sudden, he dared speak against the Black community.
It's very true.
All of a sudden, here come these women out of the woodwork that have never said a word about him, and all of a sudden, he's a date raper.
Right. It's worse than you're even saying. Henry Cuellar just got pardoned this week by Donald Trump. A Democrat congressman from South Texas got pardoned by Trump. You know why? Because Biden punished Henry Cuellar for opposing him on border security.
Right, exactly. And but what I'm saying is, this wasn't an issue until then.
The principle is if you don't toe the line, the Democrats will take you down.
Right. But again, if this was really an issue, that big of an issue that needed to be the biggest issue in America, why didn't someone do something between Bill Clinton, Obama, and now? And all of a sudden now it's an issue. And I understand why Trump is saying, because this thing, he saw exactly what's going on, that this is interfering with him doing his job and trying to reform our government. Because all you're doing now, if you're spending time here, you can't be spending time doing these things.
Let me just cut to the chase. I agree with everything you're saying here.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I agree that we need to expose the Democrats' motives for all this. It's all evil. It's all a lie. And because they're calling for something for an evil motive and reason doesn't mean that the thing they're calling for is wrong. There could be good reasons to do it, but it's not motivating the Democrats. I'm saying what Margie's doing, calling for, I agree with, number one. And number two, Trump ended up adopting her position. Even though he condemned her, she pushed him into it, and he said, it's got to come out. He signed the legislation calling for it.
Well, right, because, see, Trump was not against it coming out. He was against it taking, in other words, I'm headed and I'm trying to get our nation headed in this direction. And all of a sudden somebody's over here. Hey, come over here, take us away from where we're headed, trying to clean house and straighten our nation. But all of a sudden we got a diversion and you got people in your car saying, hey, daddy, stop over here, go over here. And it totally takes you off your route. And that's what I believe.
Okay.
Wait, let me finish. Mm-hmm. That's what I believe upset Trump, that, wait a minute, we're making headway. We're starting to get rid of corruption. We're starting to make money instead of losing money. And this deal. But all of a sudden, no, we're going to go over here. And if I'm a CEO of a company and I'm in a meeting and we're talking about what we're going to do to sell more widgets, and here's how we're going to sell more widgets, and we're starting to sell more widgets, and you got this person over here say, hey, by the way, I don't like the coffee. Can we get a new coffee company to deliver our coffee in our break room? I'm going to say, are you kidding me? We're talking about serious stuff over here that is affecting the company and the future of the company. And you're worried about stale coffee or bad, weak coffee over here. That's something we can deal with, but not take all of the attention. So that's all I'm saying. That's what I believe Trump's position was, that it's a diversion from the real issues for America. You've got this issue about girls being exploited and a certain group of people doing this. And then what happens now, the Democrats take it and make it a bigger, Trump, there must be fire because there's smoke. So now we're going to use this against him. And you got them helping it.
I got it.
All right.
Yeah. All 5 times you explained it to me.
Well, apparently not.
Yeah,
it seems like that.
No, I've got a response for you. Okay. The lesson we learned from Congressman Cuellar, from Scott Adams being indicted, because he challenged immigration policy, Biden took him out. This is the thing with the Democrats. They speak in one voice because they're terrified of getting out of line. It's, look what happened when Biden finally got the nomination. It was all of a sudden, every one of them in a row dropped out of the race in 2020 and endorsed him. They got in line because this is not a free-thinking bunch. It is a groupthink, fear and terror controlling them. And what I'm saying is, the beautiful thing I like about the Republican Party is there's a multitude of voices, a multitude of priorities. And I think that's a good thing. And all falling in line behind whatever Trump says, I don't think is good for us. It makes us more like the Democrats in the way we operate.
Okay, but you see, the difference between the Republicans and Democrats is that the Republicans, they're biting at they're letting the Democrats pick the issues that we're at each other's throats about, versus it being our own internal issues. And we, I believe, are taking our eyes off the major prize. That's the one thing I've got to give the Democrats. They're all truly focused on changing America, as what did Obama call it? He talked about, making America this whole new country, essentially. He wanted us to all see America as a different thing, which would be a hellhole, actually, if you did. So, but Republicans can't seem to coalesce around that. And then because Democrats, okay, now what we see on the media is the one voice. They're all united. Behind the scenes, they're fighting just like we are.
Of course.
I'm sure they are. Why can't we do that? Why can't we, what's the old instead of airing our dirty laundry in public, get inside rooms and argue and fight and deal with these issues but speak with one voice.
Okay.
Because all we're doing is helping them and hurting ourselves.
Okay. The whole Epstein thing started with what's called the discharge petition.
Right, the discharge
petition. And it's to bring a bill out of committee that it's buried in, installed in, and bring it to the floor for a vote. That discharge petition was authored and set up and started by about 10 Republicans. It was when the Democrats decided to get behind it for whatever ulterior motives they had, that you now see this as a Democrat move. And I'm like, no, it's those 10 Republicans that started, including Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Okay, who initiated it?
It was Republicans.
Who?
Marjorie was one of them. I don't know all of them.
All right, and my question would be why? Okay, was Marjorie Taylor Greene losing some of her glitter?
They campaigned for office on the issue. They wanted it revealed. It was an deep state Republican, Democrat, uniparty kind of thing. They wanted people exposed.
Okay. Right. Okay. But if it was then you're saying it was from the Democrats.
No, the Republicans made the discharge.
Right. But again, see, my question is the motive behind the Republicans doing this.
I think Marjorie thought she was going to expose a lot of Democrat operatives and a lot of people who claimed to be one thing but were another.
Yeah. But see, it ended up becoming a distraction. And that's what Trump was fighting against, the distraction.
Everything you're saying is a distraction from what I'm saying.
No, I'm telling you the motive behind everything. That's all I'm just discussing here. Like I said, it goes back to the thing of Bill Cosby. Okay, not just Bill Cosby. There have been several other Black individuals who come out deciding to take a more conservative position. Another new example is Fetterman. Okay. I would not be surprised if within the next year or when re-election comes around, you're going to, if Fetterman does run again, I would almost bet you're going to find some new scandal that Fetterman is involved in, but it's not going to be initiated by Republicans. It's going to be initiated by Democrats. That's just how to do it.
Okay.
And we don't need to do that. What I'm saying is we've got bigger issues to deal with. George Santos, getting rid of George Santos is another one. It was Republicans. It was Romney and his crew that decided we got to get rid of this guy.
I know, that's asinine.
Well, exactly. And I'm thinking Marjorie Taylor Greene should not have, and Massey, in Massey's case, you've been diverted from dealing with the major issues facing our country. Yes, these young ladies were molested. They were abused by people who should have known better.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
okay. I'm reading 2024 multiple times in the campaign trail. Donald Trump said in June 2024 Fox News interview, if asked he would declassify Epstein's files, he said, yeah, I would. And then in September, he said, I would call for, releasing the client list. Trump campaigned on it.
Right. But who ultimately stopped the release?
Well,
it's a Democrat judge. It was a Democrat judge that would not release them. And Trump said, again, Dave, please understand what I'm saying. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's not about that he's against it. He's just saying, not now. Right now, I'm in the middle of this. We're doing this, and you're pushing this. and say, let's get rid of, let the courts do what they're going to do.
I've got to answer that.
Okay.
Absent any legislation, any statutory law on it, it's a judge's discretion.
Right.
When the Trump administration, Justice Department pushed for it, the judge said, no, this court has jurisdiction. But you know what? When they passed a law and it got signed by Trump, making it law to release it, the judge can't stop that.
Right. But again, it has diverted the attention from the, to me, bigger issues that needed to be. And that's what Trump got upset about.
Right.
And because he's saying, what are you doing? We're on a roll. We're pushing over here. And now, essentially, you're doing the Democrats' dirty work for them.
I agree with you, Eddie, that, it's important when you've got the White House and majority both Congresses and that you got to push your agenda. You got to avoid distractions. I agree with all that. The thing I have concern about is where that can lead to. Because you can't let groupthink or fear and terror control the agenda. And when Congress has a process, now, whether Marjorie should have done that or, could do that with her, I agree with you on strategy. But it is the right for them to follow through on what their campaign promises were, including what Trump's was. And he signed it. He met his campaign commitment. Now it's released.
Right. But again,
and it's a nothing burger.
Well, okay, exactly. And that's why he's saying, why are you focusing on this when we got these bigger issues that you should be focusing and we could be focusing on, and let the others still play out?
It discredited the Democrat narrative of conspiracy theory. It did do that.
Yes, but it also
it wastes time. Yes.
It wasted time and took energy away. Just and like divided and got infight. Just like we're doing. And created infighting. Among, and now Marjorie Taylor Greene is resigning from her position, and Massey is toast. So that's what I'm saying. We've got to learn to focus on the majors and not the minors. Okay.
I've got an update on something. We follow the story of Ray Epps, right? The provocateur.
Right.
That even the night before January 6th, the riots, he's saying we have to go into the building.
Right.
And what did the crowd start cheering? Fed.
Right.
That he was a plant by the feds. Well, guess who else? Milo posted it this morning. I read it on his X deal. He showed a video standing on a statue right outside the Capitol on January 6th is Nick Fuentes. Said, we have to storm the building. We have to storm the building. I don't trust Nick Fuentes based on that.
Right. No, he's to me just out there.
Stuart Rhodes is another one. I don't trust him.
I don't know.
He's the head of Oath Keepers.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, they tried to organize here in Oklahoma. I went to some of their meetings, and the head of the Oklahoma bunch was former Sheriff Edwards of Canadian County. And I just consider that man corrupt. That's just my feeling about him. I've seen what he's done on asset forfeiture. It's horrible. It's one of the worst counties on that. And he was pushing for it. Now, I just think it was yet another attempt of the deep state Justice Department to co-opt, confuse, and tear apart the conservative broader base.
I agree. We can agree on that. Yes. And the Lolita Island Epstein situation, I see that as another one of these. And this is what bothers me about the Republican Party, that you have these people within who seem to be bent on our own self-destruction.
Yeah.
And instead of toiling forward, not saying we're not going to deal with this, but let's have another process, play it out, and start ticking off the major issues. And then, okay, we're here now. Now we can focus on this fully and really show and put them in their place. Say, okay, now you wanted this. We're going to really focus on it now. Now, we found Bill Clinton was there, Bill Gates was there, Whoopi Goldberg was there, X was there, so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. And you get this list, and you got 95% Democrats on Lolita Island. Trump was never there on Lolita Island.
Right.
The only thing he did is...
And the women said themselves, Trump never acted inappropriately.
Exactly. So... And that's why I think Trump was so frustrated with the whole deal, that you're bringing this up now while I'm dealing with Zelensky and Putin and China, and I'm dealing with this and trying to bring the inflation down, trying to reopen drilling here, deal with immigration, deal with this. And you want to drag us over here to worry about this thing that's been ongoing for 20 years that involves more Democrats than us. Why are you doing this now? Let's deal with this. Let our Justice Department deal with it in their due time. So that's how I look at it. Not that this friend of mine, Don Thomas, wrote a song years ago called "Not Now Doesn't Mean Never."
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what I believe Trump was doing. He was saying, "Not now." But I didn't say never. I will deal with this.
I'm going to loop around just a little bit more to Milo, and then we got to go to Dan Bongino's finest hour this week.
Okay.
And what Milo said he said, the homosexual community globally, when they lived on the edge, and they're just crying out for, just give me the freedom to be myself and leave me alone. He said they were, as a group, some of the most creative people. I thought about that, and I thought about, Eddie, your generation of the 60s with all the riots and all the protests, the demonstrations, the marches and everything. And it's that same bunch that was part of this turmoil, this generation gap that created some of the best music, I think, in modern history.
Oh, yeah, 70s and 80s,
and that creativity doesn't come from groupthink, from mandating everybody be like we tell you to be. And he said what the homosexual community has done now is completely flipped. They have become the most orthodox in demanding that everybody be like us, think like us, act like us, don't say the words we don't allow you to say. And become the most totalitarian. It's the biggest hypocrisy. He says, and that's why you don't see any creativity coming out of it anymore.
Right. It gets to what I was sharing again with this group of men that I meet with on Saturday mornings, that the difference between, the Democrats and, just in general, the anti-God majority out there. Okay. And I will say they are the majority. The majority of people would like to keep God out of their lives. Sadly, that's where we are. Okay. And what it is that it's a thing of they use any and everything. I need to republish this paper that I wrote in 1978.
Wow.
And it's called Holy War. It's a 3-part deal, Holy War. And Holy War talks about that we're in a holy war. And it's the Bible-believing Christian that is fighting against three things. And this was remember, this is in
47 years ago. 47 years ago.
1978, I came from Europe and itinerating, going to churches and speaking, giving this message. And I said, there are 3 enemies of our nation. The first one is Islam. I pointed out back then, I talked about the Islamic Brotherhood infiltrating and taking over.
About the time Khomeini was stirring things up.
Did I say 78? I'm sorry, 87. I'm sorry, 87. Yeah. Okay. So take 10 years
38
off.
years 38. Ago. Okay.
So anyway, but Islam, The second was the atheism and socialism. Socialism, godless communism.
Because this was still Cold War era.
Right. Yeah. It was actually a year before the wall fell.
Well, that would have been 90 when the wall fell.
I think it was actually 89.
Okay.
When we're close.
Okay.
No sense in arguing. And then the final was New Age syncretism. Now, do you know what syncretism is? Syncretism is a blending of false religion, blending religions.
Ecumenical movement.
Exactly.
Kind of thing,
it's all good. All roads lead to the same place.
Mm-hmm.
And these three entities are, I mean, it was kind of a prophetic thing now that I think about it, because if you look at it, these three, and I liken it to when in 2 Chronicles 20, where Jehoshaphat was facing the three, Edom, Moab, and Ammon, and they had, as a nation, he called for the fast because he had messed up. He met with Ahab. Ahab ended up being killed, and he fled back to the southern kingdom and escaped it. But God said, I'm punishing you. And so what he did, he called a fast. He made every man, woman, and child get together, and they sat there and fasted and prayed, and then said, okay, now go. And what did he do? He put the worshipers in front of the army, remember, and they went out, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, his mercy endures forever. They were just singing that over and over. And they came up over the hill, and what happened? They were all dead.
Yeah.
They had killed each other.
They turned on each other. But I see that as where we are today, that if believers will fast, pray, and believe, and just praise God, that these entities will turn on each other. There's something wrong with at New York University. You see a sign saying lesbians for jihad.
that is a little, because those lesbians will be the first ones.
That's right.
On.
Yeah.
And gays for
thrown
Palestine.
off of the roofs. Yes.
Yeah. Your head's going to be the first ones to roll.
Yeah, no doubt.
But anyway, we're in a kind of an interesting place. We see revival coming on one hand. Where darkness abounds, there light abounds even more, right? And vice versa, where light abounds, you're going to have darkness rise up against it. So we just have to stay steadfast and follow the Lord and keep our ears tuned to what He's saying to us.
Yeah. So almost 6 years ago now. Well, no, it'd be 5 years ago now. Somebody in a hoodie decided they'd plant a couple of bombs at the Republican headquarters in D.C. and the Democrat headquarters. Cops came up and kind of acted like it was nothing and that. And, a bunch of independent journalists on the right, were one like, oh gosh, I can't remember.
Red Hume?
No, Revolver. I'm trying to, his name just escapes me, but he's been following. He says, something's not right here. And now, recently, The Blaze does this article on and says, hey, I think this is an inside job. I think the cops were part of this thing. Glenn Beck's Blaze network. Well, Dan Bongino, who's like right underneath Kash Patel, he says, you know what, let me get my team and let me focus on it. Instead of using the DC FBI office, he pulled in guys who are specialists from around the country and assembled his own crack team. They had no additional breaks. They had the same data and everything. And within, I think, 6 weeks, they broke the case and arrested the young man. The young man, according to news media, he's confessed and he's spilling the beans on it. He's a kid that's been involved with different Antifa groups, Black Lives Matters groups and stuff. And it looks like a very lock solid case. They got the guy. And the question is, did Merrick Garland ever want to catch the guy?
No. I'll give you the answer. No.
And you know what?
Or they would have.
What did Joe Biden say about Antifa and terrorism? He said Antifa's not a terrorist group. It's an ideology.
Right.
It's a thinking.
Right.
You know?
The other thing I don't think you mentioned necessarily is that this perpetrator is black.
Yes.
Yeah. And a Democrat, staunch Democrat. So
in the suburbs of DC in Virginia.
Right. And his dad works for some, he's government affiliated.
Okay.
And so that's why another reason I think they were trying to protect him. I can't remember it all, but his dad was somehow affiliated with the government. And our country is rife with traitors, basically traitors. And I just don't understand why so many of our citizenry believe the BS that they get fed by MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS all day long.
Yep.
And they don't have the energy or time apparently to investigate any of this stuff and see that it's just lies. You know, it just, for example, another one, the new thing with Tim Walz, your state of Minnesota.
My state, the one I abandoned 40-some years ago.
Thankfully, you abandoned. And that it's up to now, I think it's $9 billion that this group in Minnesota, Somali group, we're talking about Somalis here, that they embezzled or cheated the government out of. And Tim Walz has been trying to defend them, same with the mayor, apparently, of Minneapolis. In fact, you saw where he was trying to speak Somali. These guys are such political whores because they know it's a large voting bloc. And so they want to keep that voting bloc on their side and don't anger the Somalis because they're on our side. No, they're not on your side. They're going to be on your side until you ruin the rest of the country. Sure. And then they'll take over and turn on you as well.
When you become the next Andrew Cuomo, somebody that's expendable.
Right.
You know, so they can move on with their agenda.
Yeah.
So here's the thing I need to find out. I believe this is federal funds, and the state's given the authority to dole out federal funds, just like they do food stamps, just like they do a lot of the stuff. And is this something where the federal government can bring a civil suit against the state of Minnesota, claiming they knew about it or just negligent to police it? Because I'm not just seeing this in Minnesota. Now there's several other states where they're saying, hey, we're seeing rampant corruption in Democrat-run states.
Right. And it's been going on. That's why they had to fight so vociferously against Trump, because they were afraid that all of these things would be exposed.
Right. Why do you think governors, like we've watched Kevin Stitt and so many other governors, go around trying to bring in industry into their state? Because it brings money into our economy.
Right.
This is the new machine for
industry.
Building our economy by stealing from the federal government.
Well, we don't want to try to say that Kevin Stitt is importing as a money grab. That's been the deal.
Well, that's honest money.
Right, exactly. But when you're bringing in fact, the studies show that of all of the Somalians that are in Minnesota and in Michigan, that 55% of them, 55 to 60%, are living on welfare.
Yeah.
Less than 50% are actually working and paying taxes.
Yeah.
And so all they do all day, it's like the Black community, Hispanic community, all the other people that are on welfare right now. I think 30% of America is on welfare and subsidies.
Look, Obamacare.
Well, yeah, Obamacare.
You can't afford insurance without government help anymore.
Right. And so, but what we've done, we've created, and this has been a magnet to draw all these people from around the world, because there's free money in America. We don't have to work. And then what you have, the criminal element within that figures out not only do we not have to work, but we can take money from the people who aren't working, use them to get us more money. And they've figured out all the loopholes in America that we've dug that the Democrats apparently don't care about, because as long as you vote for us, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. It's a spiritual thing, Dave, that the enemy has set up to tear down the moral fiber of all the Western civilization, okay, and particularly the Christian moral compass that people have. And the way they want to do it is by luring with money, free money. The lie that you don't have to work to make money, and the easy way out. And so now, sure, if I'm living in a blank hole, as Trump called it, country, and I come to America, or I see, I can go there and they're going to give me free money and food and this, and I don't have to, and some tenement building apartment or whatever is an upgrade from a mud hut that I'm living in here and starving. I forgot to work and, dig my food out of the ground or whatever and raise and kill animals and stuff. But I can go there and I can just sit there and I get meals. I got McDonald's, and all this. It's attractive to somebody coming from, but it's attractive in the wrong way. The immigrants that came from the 17th, 18th, 19th century, the early part of 19th century and 20th century, all of the 19th and the early part of 20th century, they came because there was work in America. There was work, and you could work your way into wealth. Right. That's gone. Nobody wants to work for wealth anymore. They want you to give it to them. Then they become jealous because these people have all the money. We hate billionaires and millionaires and these people who have all the money. But we never ask, how did they get the money? Why do they have the money? And I don't. It's because you're sitting on your fat butt all day, letting the government feed you and take care of you instead of studying and working to improve your situation and your kids. You and our kids are doing much better than we are. Oh, yeah. Exactly. I don't look down on it. And that's how I was. I'm doing better than my parents did. Right. My dad, that was their wish. That was their desire to get me to do better than them. It's my desire that my kids do better than I did. And we hope it goes down. I could easily see in my kids becoming millionaires in this generation still. Right. And their kids for sure. Right. So anyway, but that's the vision but that's not the vision the Democrat Party lays out before people. Right. I want to get into the details of what's being alleged in Minnesota. My mother-in-law for many years, she passed away many years ago, it was like 30 some years ago, but she was a financial worker, Department of Human Services for state of Minnesota. She was stationed at the courthouse in the county seat where Debbie and I are from, and she was a financial worker. Someone comes in for financial assistance. It was her job to look at their applications, follow the charts, everything, tell them what they're qualified for, what they're not qualified for in the way of assistance. Now, there were some state programs in addition to federal government. See, Oklahoma doesn't sweeten the pie really beyond what the federal government gives out in welfare. Some leftist and liberal states do give you additional stuff. And here's the scenario. I'm not saying this is what happened, but this is typical. Let's say my mother-in-law would take this application and they would have to issue a result saying, I'm sorry, Betty and Bill Johnson, you don't qualify for this program, this course, or whatever. And then a month later, they might find out that that family is getting it. Well, somebody higher up down in St. Paul State Capitol decided, no, they do qualify. Even though the numbers show they clearly don't, they just awarded them
federal funds that they don't qualify for. And what I'm saying is, my mother-in-law, who is a state financial services worker, along with about 400 others, right now they're saying over 400 Minnesota workers in DHS, Human Services, are the ones alleging there is crime going on here in a massive scale. And they're blowing the whistle on it. It's people down at the local level in each community saying the higher-ups are changing things. We're following the books, the federal guidelines. They're not.
Right. And that's the problem. I mean, with Alexander de Tocqueville, remember his famous book about America and how essentially he said we're going to destroy ourselves. Our democracy is going to cause us to destroy ourselves because once those in power find out that they can vote themselves rights, basically, to...
I think other people's money might have been one of the phrases.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that's going to, ultimately, he believed it would destroy us.
Yeah. The reason Davy Crockett, the famous Tennessean, is dead, he was a congressman.
I thought he died in the Alamo.
Yeah, I know, but listen.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
He's a congressman.
Right.
An issue came up, a destitute widow of a deceased military officer needed help.
Right.
They were going to legislate giving her a stipend. Davy Crockett stood on the floor of the old house, which is now the Hall of Statues, and he said, I will, out of my own meager means, give her some of my funds. And I would encourage you other gentlemen to do the same. But the people's funds are not ours to give in this charitable matter.
Right.
And now, not only did he lose that fight, eventually he lost his seat in Congress. And he actually disavowed his American citizenship, left the nation, went to Mexico, to a part of northern Mexico called Texas.
Yeah.
And the Texans said, we're revolting. We want to start our own country. Now, he died in that process, never got to see it. But Texas called the Lone Star State because they were at one time a sovereign nation and made the terrible mistake of joining the United States.
The terrible mistake. Instead of being their own country.
I think so.
In many ways, they still think they are. Same with California. The whole West Coast thinks they're apart from us.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing is Davy Crockett got it.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, the majority rules in this rather than principle ruling.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Right. So,
hey, quickly, a sports update.
Yeah, you see it.
Texas Tech 10, BYU 7.
Yep. And they were about halfway through the second quarter.
Right.
So now where is this at?
Okay. If Tech loses, they'll drop, but they'll stay in the.
What I'm saying is, where's the game at?
It's in Dallas at the
AT&T Stadium.
Yeah, AT&T Stadium.
Okay. So, but Texas Tech is declared the home team.
Right.
It was having the better record, I guess. But yeah, so you got that. And then as soon as that's over, Georgia, Alabama.
Right.
And then followed by Indiana and OSU, Oklahoma State. Ohio State. That's Ohio State is the fake OSU. Okay. And then the crazy thing, how is Duke at 7-5 in the championship of the ACC?
Because the ACC sucks this year.
That's Boy, right. Do they?
Yeah. One thing here's this came up this morning in my men's group deal, but Tech, by losing today, could actually do themselves a favor.
Tell me how.
Okay. If they lose, BYU's in the playoff.
By winning the tournament.
Yeah. Tech will still be in it.
As an at-large.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, because they're number 4 right now. Now, Tech will lose the bye. But if they play and make sure none of their guys get hurt, and then they would probably drop to number 7 maybe number 7, number 8. And so, and then BYU would be in it. And so we would have 2 teams in for the Big 12. And then hopefully we can each take out a couple of the other teams, of the at-large teams. And then from there, then we would have to play, one of the top 4 teams. And what we would also probably do is keep Texas out of it. Because they keep trying to move Texas from number 12 or 13, wherever. No, I think they're 13. They're outside of the 12-team playoff bid right now. And so if we can do it this way, we can keep Texas out of it, which they will hate. But it would, for the Big 12, it's advantageous for Tech to lose. Now, I don't know if that's what they want to do, even though I'm a Tech alum and huge fan. I just don't want to be sure we don't get our guys injured. Let's just put it this way. I will not be heartbroken if Brigham Young wins today. Yeah. Now, BYU's only lost 1 game. Right. At Texas Tech. Right. And that was 29-7. My thinking on this is if Texas Tech wins by 20 or more points, I don't think BYU makes it. Oh, no. But if they play close, I think they can still lose. You think they could lose and still get, well, then go red. Yeah. Win by a little. Yeah. Like right now it's 10-7. Yeah. So Tech is ahead, but that's my thought. Now, last night I watched Tulane and North Texas. It was a good game. Clearly they are not top level. Right. Those quarterbacks they need some seasoning. And the crazy thing is these little, American conference, they're just farm clubs. Who won the game? Tulane. Tulane won, yeah. Yeah. Even though North Texas had more offensive yards. Yeah. They had like 4 interceptions. That quarterback just needs some seasoning. Well, that the North Texas coach is the new OSU coach. He's the new Oklahoma State coach, and then the Tulane coach is going to Florida. Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. In fact, he's already committed to Florida, but he said by winning, he says, I'm still going to, bring my kids all the way to the end of this season before I go to Florida, which makes it a little bit hard for signing and recruiting. I remember Todd Graham, who was the Tulsa coach for great success. I think he was like number 17 at the end of the season. When he was offered the Pitt job, he told me, he says, I got to get up there as quick as I can. He says, I only got 10 days to recruit, signing days in 10 days. It's really tough. And that was before the transfer portal. Transfer portal changes things, no doubt. But no, I think at this point, everybody who's a Big 12 fan needs to cheer on whoever is in here. This is the thing I can't understand. Well, the problem now is the OU side of it. They're no longer Big 12 fans, so they're actually hoping one of them loses so that, especially Tech, so that OU can jump up higher into the polls. I think OU's in. I don't. Oh no, they're in the playoffs. I'm saying, but they want them to jump into the top 4 and to get that bye. There's no way they're going to make top 4. I mean, I don't see how you. What are they? Number 9, 8. That's the best polling is 8. But they were 6, which I don't understand. Then they win against because it was Tech 5 and OU 6, and now all of a sudden OU's down at 8. Yeah. So I don't know what I think they're still trying to get Texas in there. That's the big deal. They're trying to get Texas in there, and that needs to. I think it's going to take Alabama losing to Georgia in order for OU to go up. Yeah, Alabama's another one that's not in the top 10 yet or top 12 yet. They lost to one team. Who was that? Oh, yes, Oklahoma. No, they lost 2 games. Oh, yeah, that's right. Alabama lost to. I'm trying to think who was. I can't remember either. It was Texas, wasn't it? Texas beat them. Yeah, I think Texas or A&M. Because Texas beat Georgia, which is weird right at the beginning. Yeah. I know Georgia start. Oh no, wait. Did Texas play Ohio State at the beginning?
First game.
Okay, that was one of their losses. Okay,
because they lost 3,
right?
And they're making their argument that, hey, look, if you played the 3 teams we played and lost to, then great. But nobody out there has played the kind of schedule we have.
Right, but you lost 3 games. It doesn't matter if you played. Yeah, I don't want to go.
I think it was stupid for them to go up to Ohio and play them first game of the season. Yeah. I thought it was stupid when Mayfield went up there with OU and played first game. Now, we won.
Right.
But I still thought it was just too risky. There's a reason you play a light schedule at the beginning.
No, you're right.
Right. It just...
well, listen, I think we need to wrap because I've got to go to Tahlequah and... last 2 days of annual enrollment period in Medicare, and I got to do the work. That's why earlier we were interrupted by one of my clients.
If you haven't signed up, get going. Call Eddie.
Well, if you haven't signed up, it's a little late.
They got till tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dave.
Yeah. He doesn't need to watch football.
No, I don't. Well, I'm not. I'm going to be in Tahlequah working instead of watching the Raiders win. But anyway, thank you. Thank you all for...
I got a real quick thing. School board elections happening all over the state of Oklahoma. My friend and Eddie's Michael Phillips is taking on an entrenched incumbent here in Tulsa, and I think we're going to have him on soon. Look him up. Michael Phillips.
And Alina Ashley.
Alina's up for re-election.
Right.
But Michael is a career Tulsa public school teacher, which might not be saying a whole lot, but let me tell you, at the time he went to school here at Central, same school Paul Harvey graduated from, Tony Randall graduated from, but then he taught at Edison, taught at Central. He understands it, but more importantly, he understands the principles for success. He's been head of the Tulsa Republican Men's Club for many, many years, and I just think let's get behind him.
And what's her name? Jeannie Triplehorn.
Yeah, I thought you went to Edison.
Oh, you know what? I think you did. Where did Michael go?
Central.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The old downtown campus.
Yeah.
Where Paul Harvey went to high school. Here in Tulsa.
Yeah.
And, Paul Harvey worked the same.
KFAQ.
Well, he worked for KBOO.
Yeah, right.
Which that building became your studio.
Right.
KFAQ.
Right. When Jeannie Triplehorn started there.
Is that right?
She was there.
How about that?
But it's funny because was it KVOO? No, it must have been KVOO that was the 50,000 watt. And they flipped the signals around where KFAQ became the 50,000 watt AM station.
Became the signal anyway. That place on the dial, 1170.
Right, 1170.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So, it's interesting.
Yeah.
A little bit of tidbit for you. Hey, God bless everybody. Have a good week. And Lord willing, and the creek don't dry. We'll talk to you again next week. Talk to you then.